and welcome to No Prize Podcast, all about Marvel Comics, Disney Plus, the MCU, anything that we want to talk about for Marvel. And Lucas on assignment this week, but this week I have from across the pond, Johnny The Machine Hughes. How are you, Johnny?
Hey, Professor, how's it going?
It's going. Oh man, I love it when we're on No Prize together because we have fun and we talk and you make fun of stuff, so it's cool.
Me make fun of stuff? Are you sure you got me confused with somebody else?
So it's what we do.
Yes, indeed it is. Indeed it is.
How have you been?
I've been very well, thank you. I've got to say, I think Marvel's having a bit of a flurry at the moment. There's a couple of books out there that have really sort of excited me.
Really?
Yeah.
And it's tough to excite you, Johnny. So Marvel's really kind of coming up with a couple of good ideas.
Well, a couple of either good ideas or are they just rehashed old ones? That's the question you've got to ask yourself.
I guess it's all in how it's presented, right?
I agree with that one. Absolutely, 110%. How it's done.
Well, so we don't really have a lot of MCU and a lot of Disney Plus stuff to talk about. So we're going to spend the hour talking about comics. So that's cool.
Okay, cool. Let me just try and...
So speaking about rehashed ideas that might be presented in a way that we that maybe we like and maybe that we might want to spend money on, let's talk about the new issue of Ghost Rider.
Yeah, just
as we wait for the visual.
Sorry, my computer's decided that I don't have permissions to share anymore. So if you just give me 2 seconds, and I will sort that out.
Sure.
Sorry about this, guys.
Well, if you can all envision the picture in your head of the cover for Ghost Rider #1 from 1992, then it's probably close to accurate.
Yes, well, we'd hope for that, wouldn't we? Let's just see. Right, let me just see. Where is it?
Well, I'll go through the credits while...
yeah, you do that.
While you're looking. As I find the credits.
It's all right. I've got it. I'm there. I will be there in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I can give you the credits. It's written by Benjamin Percy. It's art by Corey Smith. Colors are by Brian Valenza. Letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. And the main cover, there are variants of covers to get for this. The main cover, however, is by Cale Nagu. And I've got to say, for me personally, that's the one that you want because it is absolutely gorgeous. And I'm still not having any success. I swear to everything that is holy, how does this happen?
Well, nothing holy in Ghost Rider, which is why you're having trouble.
All right, okay. Screen recording.
But this book...
You read through the story whilst I sort this out now.
Sure. So this book really kind of opens up with where kind of we all didn't know where Johnny Blaze was, or we're not supposed to have known where he is. And now, the first lines in this, Johnny, where have you been, Johnny? Really kind of is like, okay, well, where has he been? The last time I remember seeing Johnny was when he was the King of Hell. I don't know if you remember that, Johnny.
I do.
So this is going to be weird because we're talking about Johnny.
Johnny.
And I'm talking to Johnny. So this opens with him basically on the couch in a psychiatrist's office, and he's basically trying to recover from a supposed motorcycle accident that we had. So we know now here that nothing's really as it seems. We know that there's something up because, he doesn't remember being Ghost Rider. He looks and he sees demons where, maybe he shouldn't. So he's hallucinating. He's drinking a lot to cover up his problems. He's married to Roxanne, who if everybody remembers their 1970s Ghost Riders class, Roxanne was Johnny Blaze's sweetheart girlfriend when he was first debuted. We also see that Roxanne's dad, Crash Simpson, is alive and well in this reality. And Johnny and Roxanne are married and have 2 children. So I'm immediately reminiscing just from last year's Black Widow series. So if you remember, Black Widow was given a life and she didn't remember her previous existence. This is exactly what I was thinking of. But, oh, there we go. Lost you, huh?
Yeah, sorry.
But with this iteration is we really have like kind of they're setting the stage here that Ghost Rider is really not around, and we have the introduction of a new character, Agent Talia Warroad from previously of Shield, this is her first debut, and she's a demon hunter or what have you. I seem to think that there's probably a lot of other characters they could have used other than introducing a new one. But I kind of like this introduction, and I just don't know if this was long enough, right? Because by the end of the issue, we do have Ghost Rider make his appearance, and now we know he's gonna come fight the demons, right? And I just think that I probably could have gone a few issues with Johnny slowly realizing that he's in a different reality, right? Or I would say he's probably in hell and they're just toying with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What did you think? This is an oversized first issue. So what did you think?
So I love this book. I thought the story was great. I love the way that Johnny has his head outside of the game. He doesn't know what's going on. He's lived, and then it sort of like all kicks off. The blood is going to be spilled, and you know that other things are going to occur down the line as well. Ghost Rider's going to make an appearance. It reminded me of the Black Widow's run from not so long ago.
I said that. I said that while you popped out.
Sorry. So that whole perfect life, then destroyed life, and then retribution thereafter.
Yes.
So it's not exactly a new thing. But that said, I thought it was still a pretty damn good indicator of what they're trying to achieve with this book. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think when we compare this to previous Ghost Rider incarnations, like the previous one, what's his name? Robbie Reyes.
Robbie Reyes.
The Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider that's now in another reality, tooling around with the Avengers, was not really, to me, a supernatural type horror book. And here they're bringing Johnny back to the roots, right? And having what seemed to me to be like a return to the horror genre, right? And with the Hulk not being around anymore, the last Hulk book was, I would say, firmly rooted in the horror aspects. There was kind of a gap here, I think. So I think having a nice horror book with Ghost Rider in it, and if we can have the future continue to be supernatural type horror, I think going forward, good things coming for Ghost Rider. And I think we lost Johnny again, so talk to myself until he comes back. But it seems to me Ghost Rider #1 seems to be like a good get.
I'm having so many problems. It might. I need to get this sorted because otherwise we can't share. So let me just. Yes, it's there.
There we go.
Right, make a note of this so that show notes can be edited.
Hey, that's I think that's such a great homage cover for the first issue.
Definitely. And if you want to check out more Ghost Rider, Bud's been talking about Roxanne and Crash and all that. Bud, did we not just do like a Ghost Rider special itself over on Old Timers?
We did just last month. So go check your back episodes of Old Timers, and
So
we actually talk about his first appearance.
Yeah, definitely. So the art, I think, for this book, I think Corey Smith did a great job, not just in the scary bits, but even these bits where he's having those conversations with his shrink.
Yeah, I mean the shadows and the blacks is just a feeling of kind of like an ominous presence throughout the book. I just feel I do feel like when he realizes like he's in hell. I love that back shadow of Ghost Rider in the back on the wall. And then there's that moment of like absolute horror when they close up on his scar and a big eye opens up. I'm like that's so like Evil Dead, but I did enjoy that.
Dog barking at the demon. It's all in there.
Right, and then the dog's in the mailbox later. I kind of thought that was it was funny, but with the horror aspect, it's like we don't see a lot of this in Marvel books anymore, and to be able to kind of take it back and have that kind of retro feel. Do you think they're going to do Danny Ketch in this? Because I think Danny would probably fit in well eventually, but I want this to kind of focus on Johnny.
It's interesting you mentioned that because the blurb in the book talks about when innocent blood is spilt, the spirit of vengeance comes alive.
And that's Danny's Ghost Rider.
That's Danny's shtick, right? It's not Johnny's. Johnny's is like, oh my God, I'm possessed demon, I need to get out of it sort of thing.
Right.
But what I'd like to see Danny in this. This feels like a horror book, as you've mentioned. It's better for me. I like this better than the Hulk book. I think the Hulk book just went too far. But there's this. I'm looking for this one panel where he absolutely kicks. Where's it at? Where's it at? The explosion panel. It's there somewhere. Where is it? It's this next one. Where is it? There you go.
There we
go. That's the
go.
one. Yeah, that's what you're waiting for. That's the big reveal. And if the comic ends there, you think, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Comic doesn't end there, though, does it?
No, it does
There's
not.
more stuff after that. So I thought this was a great reinterpretation of Johnny Blaze. Yes, we're going to find out how he got kicked out of hell, or is this his hell that he's getting kicked out of now? We're going to eventually. There's enough snippets of all the other people, the other characters, to make you think, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I think for new fans, there's something to get the teeth into. In old fans, there is a whole different sort of thing. You're casting your mind back to the older characters. So I think this book rocks. I think it rocks. I reviewed it on Crusaders. I gave it 5. 5
really?
out of 5. Yeah, absolutely love this book.
Now, when you look at the cover and you see that it says the 50th anniversary, does it make you feel old? Because it made me feel a bit old.
Oh man, don't get me started. Yes, yes, it made me feel old. Yes.
I was sitting there and I'm like, oh man, Ghost Rider's 50, and they haven't. What's the anniversary for Spidey this year? Is
60?
60.
So there you go. There's Ghost Rider. It's more like your Danny Ketch style Ghost Rider with the black leather, none of the jumpsuit things. So it's like they've taken the best part of the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider, which is Johnny Blaze, and the best part of the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider, which was Ghost Rider,
right?
And then, not that I'll say this right now, not that I've got anything against Robbie Reyes, but a Ghost Rider should not be on the Avengers.
You're absolutely correct. He knows they try to make him like almost like the main character, the main focus character on the Avengers since he joined up. Which when you look at the idea of it was kind of like this fresh-faced young kid dealing with all of these immortal icons of Marvel. It kind of is a good idea, but the execution was so like. He just never fit.
Yeah.
So
it's you cast your mind back. It's when Kyle Rayner joined the Justice League after finding the power ring.
Right. And he just walks around wide-eyed like,
that's what you're looking for. Of course, of course, Robbie wasn't helped by the fact that Blade was in there as well. So they're trying to go for this whole like the supernatural is part of the Avengers. You know, I know we shouldn't compare, apples and oranges, but DC, when they want magic stuff, they go to Justice League Dark. You've got Savage Avengers. Why can't you have Magic Avengers?
Right. I mean, it's not like they're lacking of the supernatural characters to throw in there,
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
everybody's been an Avenger at this point.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine you could have Brother Voodoo, you could have Ghost Rider, you could
Doctor
have
Strange, you could have Scarlet Witch, you could
Yeah, there's a whole host of people who you could have, and each one could carry certain elements of the magical world with them. So and then that would cause tension and all that sort of stuff that we all love about comic books. But this, I think, this is back to its roots. This is put on your bike and leathers, fire up the old two-wheeler, and go for a stroll down Route 66 with your wheels on fire. This is what this is all about.
For sure. Yeah, I think.
For sure.
For sure. I think Ghost Rider is probably the pick of the week for me.
Really? Yeah, I could give that. Yeah. I mean, look at that panel. Just look, that's great, isn't it? That's what you want.
It's beautiful. It is just, and it reminds me of Teixeira and
but more polished.
And Javier Saltaires, yeah.
Yeah, more polished version maybe, but definitely. It's about, and I'm sorry for all the Robbie Reyes fans. I'm really sorry, but it's about time we had Ghost Rider back on a bike.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep, 100%. Instead of sitting on a throne in hell.
Yeah. Or even driving around in a Charger. I've seen that movie, Fast and Furious, too many times.
All right. So let's jump into the new Captain Marvel book.
Captain Marvel. Oh, yeah. Captain Marvel for me has to be one of the most, if not the most consistent book that Marvel put out there. It is absolute. It's fun practically nearly every time. I say practically nearly every time because these big, huge fight issues are probably my least favorite of him. Yeah, I like the stuff leading up to, and I like the stuff after the fight. Yeah, but hey,
and that's this issue.
Yeah, unfortunately, but still, there's some good stuff in there. Right, so we'll go through the stats. This is Captain Marvel 36, or for all you Legacy fans, Legacy 170.
Surprising.
Volume 10. I can't believe it. All right. Written by Kelly.
It doesn't say volume 10 in there, does it?
No, it doesn't. But if you look in the blurb, it's volume 10. All right. So it's written by Kelly Thompson, as you'd expect. Art by Sergio Davila. Inks by Sean Pearson with Roberto Poggi, or Poggi, depending on your accent. Colors are by Eric Archinega, and letters are by VC's I'm Taking a Bow from Batman for a While, Clayton Cowles. This is a fight book. There's no ifs, buts, or coconuts about it. It is the big fight between the black suits and the Marvels. You can see straight away you've got a whole host of people joining this book. Yep. A whole host of people, by the way, who appear but don't say a lot or do a lot. So that's interesting.
It's true. And we just talking about Ghost Rider. We have Robbie Reyes on the cover, but nowhere in the book does he appear.
Good to see Moondragon back. So Moondragon's here. We talked about her in All Timers not so long ago, and she has
favorites.
And she has something to do. Who'd have thunk it? For me, it is a fight issue, so that means you get to see loads of this going on. I think it looks great. I think it reads great. There's lots of banter between Carol and certain characters. The premise is canny. I like the whole idea of binary coming back, kinda. I like the idea that it means that Carol might be depowered for a little while. Interesting take on that. Couple of other things. As I said, loads of characters are in this that don't do a lot. I mean, the problem with this type of book is when you throw everybody in there, it takes away what's going on in their own book. For example, Jess is in this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Spider-Woman, she has her own stuff going on. Right? Having these characters in these books takes away from their impact in the Devil's Reign storyline. So, fair enough, you can park your bus and think, well, I'll go with it. But for every Avenger to be here,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we've seen in this storyline, on top of Binary reappearing, we've seen Carol's other power, which is her eye blasts or mouth blasts or whatever. But I would also like to point out she's developed a new power, a super new power, and it's on these early pages that I think you might see it the most. It says looking for the page. Right, there you go. Have you worked out what it is yet?
No.
No?
No, what is it?
It's Medusa hair. Look.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, just kind of like
A hair goes large, it goes short, it goes flat, it goes. I was like, whoa, that's pretty impressive. She's been sniffing the old Terrigen mists? Has she? I mean, what does a superhero do for highs?
Well, unless they're fighting in a vortex where, I don't have that problem ever about that.
I do. But
I'm more like Moondragon.
I don't mind. The book's going to have talkie parts, but this is a huge fight thing going on, and somewhere along the line they take one panel there, that page, so they take 2.5 pages out of the fight to discuss, and you're like, come on, guys, But overall, I will stand by what I said. The book looks great. It reads great. Carol is a fun character. I'm not buying into the whole Carol's getting replaced by Binary. Binary might get her own one shot or a mini series down the line. I'm all right with that. I'm also not buying that Carol Danvers is getting kicked out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe either. I like Carol Danvers. I've always liked Carol Danvers. So, yeah.
Do you think Kelly Thompson is the best female writer for Captain Marvel? So, maybe in all the comics right now.
I think for all that I always diss Marvel for their humor quota, I think there's a couple of people, Kelly Thompson and Jed McKay, hit it bang on right, perfectly for the characters that they write. I think Kelly Thompson's Black Widow is very, very good. It suffers from overcrowdedness, very much like I think this book did at the start of its run. I also like Kelly Sue DeCormick on Captain Marvel, a couple of volumes ago, if you're keeping track. I think Kelly Thompson has to be one of Marvel's shining stars. Definitely, she's one of the writers who are the think tank that gave you Spider-Man Beyond. If you look on the credits page, she's credited as being on the Beyond board of directors. Yeah, and whether you like the current Beyond stuff or not, you can see there is the long game in play there.
Yes.
So, and it's all geared up to the big celebration of Peter Parker. So that
right.
Can't be a bad thing.
The 80th anniversary or 60th anniversary.
Yeah. So that's fine. But I definitely think Kelly Thompson is definitely up there. I love her on Captain Marvel. I love the quiet issues. I like the setup issues. Fight issues aren't normally my thing like this, but there are still some really good touches in it. Look, more Medusa hair on that panel. Crazy. Look, and then notice crazy Medusa hair when she's moving. Now she's stood still. It's all nice and flat.
Yeah.
And where's all this wind coming from? Oh, sure. Crazy.
It does lend some energy to the panels, though. I think.
Yeah, agreed.
So what do you like about Binary? Them bringing back Binary, but apparently she kind of grew out of Captain Marvel's energy.
I'm all right with that actually, and I think if Lucas was here, he'd be telling you to try and pick up this cover. This is the variant cover for this issue. There you go. Binary on the front. He'd also point out not to go and forget and check out Uncanny X-Men 164, which is the first appearance of Binary, which should be going up in prices because of all the chitter-chatter about Binary replacing Captain Marvel down the line. There you go, Lucas. I hope I've done you proud, sir.
All right, so let's take a break. We'll watch an ad, and then we'll come back and discuss the final two books we're going to talk about. Make sure to check out Crisis in the Toyverse. That is just the ad does not do that podcast justice.
Very good.
You should go check that out. Silver Surfer Rebirth #2. Would you rather call the Silver Surfer rehashed?
Reborn, redone,
redone. Yeah, that's a good one. No, so
repeated. Maybe that's what it's called. Silver Surfer repeated.
This is one of the things that I'm actually liking about Marvel the last calendar year is bringing back previous creators to revisit their storylines and like kind of continue them. We've been seeing it for the last couple of years with Peter David going back and writing stories that are supposed to fit into the 80s and 90s continuity of Spider-Man. And here we're getting Ron Mars and Ron Lim to kind of do their own continuation of their storyline or their runs on the volume 2 of Silver Surfer.
Yep.
Which kind of honestly took me out of the continuity for a second, right? So like you really kind of have to ignore the fact that Thanos is now King of the Eternals and that we've had about 17 other storylines involving the Infinity Gems. But we're supposed to ignore all that. And
I'm all right with that. I can do
that. So now we have Silver Surfer visiting Thanos. And of course, there's just look at the beautiful Ron Lim fight pages, full page spreads. There are several in this book. And we come to the realization that Thanos, and this is the issue where you kind of find out where it's fitting into continuity, because this is after Infinity Gauntlet. So Thanos has already failed in his attempt to kill half the universe. And Warlock. And then, we'll talk about that. So with Warlock and the Infinity Watch now have the Infinity Gems. And if you remember the continuity from the early 90s where Warlock actually gave Thanos the reality gem. And for safekeeping, right, like what is he thinking? I remember doing that in 1992 when this happened. I was like, what is he thinking? But now apparently Thanos has retired to the farm that we saw in Avengers Endgame for some reason. And Silver Surfer visits him, and the reality gem supposedly has been stolen from him. Right? It's one of the jumps, the leaps in logic that I just can't get there. So now Thanos conscripts Silver Surfer to help him recover the reality gem. And that's basically all that really happens in this issue, right? I mean, other than that, Ron Lim is for me, he's the Silver Surfer artist behind Kirby, and maybe Buscema, but I loved Ron Lim's artwork when I was a kid. And the first, this is my introduction to Ron Lim is I get this mirror Silver Surfer where just everything reflects off him. And it was it was great. I loved that stuff. And just to kind of see him again, because Ron Lim really has kind of been out in limbo for the last, 10 or 15, 20 years. He's been doing the covers here and there. Yeah, I mean, you have to have him do the snap, right?
Well, it's funny because there's a couple of this week. There are a couple of movie moments. There's this one in this book, and then there's the really great parody of the Hulk's line from the Avengers movie. So in Amazing Spider-Man, so the Hulk in the movie gives it, "That's my secret." Says something like, "Bruce, get mad." He goes, "That's my secret. I'm always mad or always angry." Yeah.
Right.
And in Spider-Man, MJ or Black Cat says to him, "Right, you've got to get ready." And Peter Parker's, "That's my secret. I'm never ready." I thought that was well done.
Yeah.
I thought it was much more cleverer than on this
right.
one. But
This was kind of like a, he snaps to get his throne.
yeah.
But I don't remember Thanos ever flying around on his throne like Metron and the New God.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, why has he got a Morbius chair?
Yeah.
I was like, what? So, but again,
it looks good. It looks good.
But you guys know I'm not a cosmic Marvel fan, so
No.
I was chalking this up to sound like you there, chalking. I was chalking this up to my ignorance of the subject rather than like what's he doing in the floating chair. But
no, it's not your ignorance. I don't, the throne, the whole throne thing is this is new to me, and unless I can't quite remember maybe Ron Lim used to draw him in the chair when Thanos came back. That was because that was Lim and Starlin, right? Starlin was writing Silver Surfer when he brought Thanos back, but I don't remember if it was on the throne. And then so now this is one of the things that if we're supposed to be putting this back in continuity to back in the 90s, the Nebula didn't look like that back in the 90s. The Nebula did not have the cyborg thing going on. She was actually, she had the long black hair and she didn't have any cybernetics at all. So that's one of the things that maybe they'll explain in this, because I don't even remember them ever explaining how Nebula became half cyborg.
Wasn't there a Nebula miniseries a couple of years back?
Yeah, but that didn't explain anything.
Not going to that. Okay.
Yeah, and then with the revelation at the end of this issue of who actually has the reality gem, and their herald is actually
your favorite character in the whole wide world, isn't it?
Jack of Hearts.
Yeah, I was like, who? What?
Right.
I was like, I only saw him last month in the Fantastic Four book. What do I need to see him again for?
Yeah, he came back in She-Hulk #1 after not being seen since Avengers Disassembled, right? Because he got killed. Scarlet Witch killed him, and we haven't seen him in 20 years, 25 years, And now I guess maybe everybody forgot how tough he was to draw. So
now they're getting the practice.
Bring him back. Oh yeah. So here, I don't know who Jack of Hearts would be working for, right? Because they don't show him.
Well, let's see. Have we any clues? It's got like some strands there. There's some purple energy
little black
there.
Gloves, some cables. Is that?
Could it be? Who could it be?
Could it be one of Galactus's former heralds? Could it be one of who did Ron Lim create? Was it like Morg? Remember him?
Could it be, what's his name? Terax?
Could be. I think it could be any one of Galactus's heralds.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. What I'll say, before I get into this, I will say there's one panel that I want to bring out to everyone's attention. Look at that, Gamora's in the fishnets. Woohoo!
Yay!
Bring back the fishnets.
Did you like Warlock in the Infinity Watch?
I wasn't a big fan. I liked the Infinity Crusade and the Infinity Gauntlet. I thought that was all right, but I get bored with Warlock. I'm like, I'm not as I say, I'm not a huge cosmic fan. Which when I read this, I was kind of hooked. When you called it, I was like, oh dear God. But we'll give some more credits out. You've mentioned Mars, you've mentioned Lim. Don Ho is on inks, great name. Israel Silva is on colors. VC's Joe Sabino is on letters. I've got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed this book from cover to cover. It was like a slice of crazy that I just hadn't seen. And when you see how well Ron Lim puts together a comic, and you think about for a large part of this book is just a talking book. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm one of those guys that, like, I remember when Lim first made the scene, right? When he was doing Infinity Gauntlet and when he was doing Captain America back in the day, he was just a kid, like 18, 19 years old. And now, you see, and I wonder, why hasn't he been working?
I see. To me, this book is gorgeous. I'm with you on this one, Professor.
Yeah.
This book, I know that I know you have to jump the logic. I get that, but then you have to jump the logic with Captain Marvel,
Right.
as well. So I get that. So let's just stick a pin in that and throw it somewhere else. This book is such a strong read. It ties into the right continuity for the most part. It looks gorgeous. Lim's work looks fantastic with the recent coloring, digital coloring schemes.
Yep.
This book absolutely makes you wonder why it shines head and above practically 2/3 of Marvel's current output for me.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a cosmic fan. Just look at how well this is put together.
Mm-hmm.
A huge talking book, a couple of fight moments, some continuity thrown in for good measure, and you read it and you put it down and you feel like you've been somewhere, as opposed to I'm going to pick up Amazing Spider-Man again. The last 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man with Peter Parker in the bed and then, it gets cut out, but it's like the same story in 2 different issues.
Right.
I get you trying to do a weekly story, but for Christ's sakes. And also, by the way, knives don't cut webbing. So you get this longer term story, and it's paced at a rate where it treats the reader as intelligent, as opposed to other books which are all flash and no substance, and it's just flash, 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 and there's the end. You're like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather read this book by this creators than potentially Amazing Spider-Man, Avengers. This book feels like a proper comic book. It might be the old timer in me. It may
be. I mean, the creators are old timer too.
So but you turn over that final page, you see Jack of Hearts, and instead of thinking, where's he at? There he is. Oh my! Instead of thinking, how the hell? You're intrigued just to find out what happened.
Yeah.
He's got half a face going on there. Could it be null? I don't know.
No, that's how Jack.
Something. I will say the using of Gamora to guilt Thanos and using Galactus to guilt Surfer. It's a little bit done and dusted, but then, to be fair with Norin Rad, you're either going to get his girlfriend or Galactus, and that's it.
Right.
They're the only 2 people, right?
That's very, very true. What the thing that I was kind of hoping was that we would see some of the characters that were around in the volume 2 of Silver Surfer. Like I would have loved to see some of the Elders of the Universe. I would have loved to see like Reptile. Remember him, Captain Reptile?
How about that? How about that era's Guardian of the Galaxy? Surely they're kicking around about now, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
they're all around, and I'd love to see some of those old characters that really haven't had a lot to do or haven't really made an appearance since those days. I would love to see a Ron Lim, Adam Warlock show up. I would love to see a bunch of these characters, and I know that this is only a limited series, man, but it's like, can't you give Ron Lim a monthly? Dude hasn't worked a monthly in 20 years. Just look at it. Give him a book. He was in the early 90s. This guy was the hottest artist going. Right after all the Image artists left, Ron Lim got promoted, and he's doing Infinity Gauntlet. He followed up George Perez on Infinity Gauntlet.
Where would you put Ron Lim? For me, Ron Lim works on Surfer. Don't take this any disrespect, Mr. Lim, if you're listening to the pod. Where else? Certain artists belong with certain characters.
I would put him on on Silver. I would give Silver Surfer a regular monthly title and put him on that. I would give you could put him on Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it would be great on Guardians, like anything cosmic. Put him back. I would put him back on Captain America. He was on Captain America for a good long while, right?
That's a good yeah, that was a good shout.
Right?
Good shout.
Give him. I would let him pick. You pick who you want to do, and if, you know what he's never done. He's never done Fantastic Four, and I think he'd be great on that book.
That's a shout. That is a good shout. That is a good shout. I'd like to see the Fantastic Four. Avengers.
Yeah, could do Avengers. He's not a stranger to crowds, so I mean, I think, I think he would be great, and I think you maybe give that an excuse to change the lineup on the Avengers so that Ron Lim can have the characters he wants to draw.
I mean, there's nothing wrong if you want a Silver Surfer book. I know you could have Secret Defenders, which was a bit of the Secret Defenders book from the 90s was a bit of a mash, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure.
But you could have. There's nothing to stop them bringing out a Cosmic Avengers book. You know, I mean, it is the Avengers model is that vibrant. I mean, you remember when they used to have the Secret Avengers book? I used to love that book. It's class.
Yeah. Get the more obscure type Avengers, but
Mission Impossible Avengers. It was great.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the characters you can bring back. Quasar would be a great run. The book.
I love
Quasar.
I was in a comic book shop last night, picking up my order.
There you go.
And I did buy more than just that, but I can't show you those books because they're the distinguished competition.
We won't talk about that. Well, we will talk about the distinguished competition in a minute.
But we ended up talking about, of all the crazy things, this is a bit of a digression, so apologies. Alphabet. I went looking for Uncanny X-Men because I went looking for Uncanny X-Men 164. And I says, where's your Uncanny X-Men? It's not under you. No, it's under X for X-Men. And I was like, that just blew my mind. I was like, what are you doing? What? So, well, some letters we don't need. We don't need Q. I was like, well, what about Quasar? I was like, getting flashbacks. And I'm sure Quicksilver's had a mini series at one point.
He has.
Yeah, so yeah. But hey ho, what can I say? Yeah, Quasar. I didn't mind Quasar actually. It was kind of like was that a? Correct me, because you'll know this. Last night in the shop, I said it was either a Mark Grunwald or a Tom DeFalco type thing.
It was 100% Mark Grunwald from issue 1 to the end. He wrote the entire series, and it was kind of his guilty pleasure book because Quasar was never the #1 selling book, but Mark used it to just kind of throw out his ideas or fix continuity he thought was broken, or reintroduce some characters. Like he brought in his Squadron Supreme. He introduced Starbrand back into the actual Marvel universe because Mark Grunwald was the creator of the new universe too.
Right. Yeah.
All those most of those characters he had a hand in, but he was the executive editor of the new universe. So he brought all those characters in. So Quasar is one of those weirdo titles that basically anything could happen. They actually, if you remember, my favorite Quasar storyline was they did the race around the world with all the speed demons like Quicksilver and Makari, and the winner of that, the winner of the race was actually the Flash.
Hey,
do you remember that?
No, I remember Quasar getting shrunk to a baby.
Yeah, so that book was a lot of fun. Maybe we should talk about it on Old Timers.
You know what? We should do that. Why don't all the Old Timers? We'll have an episode of obscure characters from obscure letters of the alphabet. There you go.
There you go.
there's the next thing.
We do this Old Timers episode is brought to you by the letter Q.
I feel sorry for whoever gets you.
All right. So we're gonna jump into the last book that we're gonna talk about, and this is actually an excuse book, right? So this is an excuse book. This is the Devil's Reign tie-in book, Villains for Hire, #2.
I'll let you into a secret with this book. This is the other than Spider-Woman, because I buy Spider-Woman on a regular basis. Other than Spider-Woman, this is the only other Devil's Reign tie-in that I've read. I think I'm sorry, Woman Without Fear, which is I think Devil Reigns is doing brilliantly for just keeping it all in one place. Normally with a Marvel book, it's like spread over umpteen different issues. And whilst there might be an umpteen different issues, you don't have to read any of them to impact the main story.
That was what I was just going to say, because you don't these satellite books that they put out, the Villains for Hire, and you have the other one, the Superior Octopus, whatever the heck that's called.
Superior 4 or something.
Yeah, those books you don't need at all. Because and even like if you read the stories, they don't really tie into Devil's Reign at all. It's just like kind of like this is what's happening over here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's kind of like this is what's happening further down the street.
Yeah. So I mean, I love I love US Agent, and I'm kind of glad to see them bring him back in this. But this is one of my gripes about Marvel. Is that once they come out with, like, let's say US Agent had a limited series last year, we're supposed to just forget that happened, and then because they don't reference it, you don't see any growth in the character from one point to another, and especially with these kind of, always say D-list characters, because US Agent's not even B-list, he's like C-list.
What was that book we looked at? It was part of the war thing, the robot war thing. And there was Mockingbird and there was US Agent. They're on an island and they got attacked by, what was that? Part of the Iron Man storyline about the AI war or something. That was the last time I read. That's the last time I read anything.
I remember the book you're talking about, but see, it's like one of those things that it's just it was one of those side stories to an event book that you never really needed to think about.
The problem with US Agent is that you're supposed to not like him,
right?
And therefore, if he's written not to like, then genuinely you don't particularly care what happens to him. So then why should you pick up the book?
Or in the miniseries that they did US Agent last year by Priest, you actually thought that there was some growth in that character throughout the miniseries, but at the end he still was an unlikable guy. But you did see where he was used by the system or something like that, but here, well, he's becomes a flunky for a Kingpin and the leader of the Thunderbolts for a moment in time, because we know the Thunderbolts is getting relaunched next month, but the US Agent is nowhere around.
So it's part of this. So let's give the stats out. It's Claire McLeod Chapman is writing this. Manuel Garcia is on art. Lorenzo Ruggiero, that's what I'll go with. Stop laughing at me. How would you pronounce that?
Lorenzo Ruggiero. Yeah, you're right. Ruggiero. Ruggiero.
Yeah. Sorry, Lorenzo. Great work. Colors are by for the bunkers, Dono Sanchez Almara with Fair Cifuentes Suho. Oh, whatever. Apologies for VC's Joe Sabino. Thank you for having a name I can pronounce. Yeah. One. There you go. Just saying. You know what you were saying about growth? I mean, for this, as you look through this book, you think that US Agent is an absolute heel. He's going to be the heel. He's up. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's joining the bad guys. Yada yada. But it's all. He's got other stuff going on, hasn't he? He has ulterior positive motives in this. So I think there is still an element of, he's not the douche that you think he is.
And when we talk about growth too, I think there is another character in here that shows a bit of growth, is Rhino.
Exactly, that's in my notes as well. Definitely.
Yeah,
but we've seen that in the recent book. In Reign 4, you see him kind of Rhino turn up and save someone rather than just batter them all over. So, Art, I'm not sure if I like the art on this. I know for a fact I didn't like the colors. I thought the art's too heavy. I think the ink lines are too heavy, and the colors. They see this page here. This is supposed to be daytime.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now,
Daytime in Gotham City.
yeah. Is there a daytime in Gotham City? Gotham runs sunset, sunset, sunset. That's it. Nothing in between.
So we're gonna talk about the art. Go to the last page
Oh, hang on then.
because the one glaring thing in this book is yeah, there you go. Whiplash's thigh gap is unbelievable.
Oh man.
So
I feel sorry for Electro with with a broken back there. I mean,
oh yeah,
I don't think anyone can sit that. See if I can enlarge. Every time I try and do this, it goes all wrong. So apologies. Oh no, it's there. You go. Look at that. I mean, no one
that's
can sit like that
mhm.
flat and at the legs at 90 degrees. That's just bonkers. But
That's nuts. But yeah, so the art questionable, yeah.
yeah,
But
but
it's a tie-in book. So a lot of these tie-in books you get the tryouts, you know, you get like the people looking for work.
yeah, well, that's
It's
fine.
like
But
a lot of this heavy penciling and everything in the, you know,
I will
Kingpin.
say this though. I mean, Devil's Reign. I know you were kind of like, oh, it's just the Thunderbolts again, and I think hopefully it surprised you because I think it's been absolutely brilliant. I've thoroughly enjoyed Devil's Reign all the way through.
Um,
I thought issue 3 had a turning point where it could go, oh my god, it's just going to be a big superhero free for all,
right.
and then then issue 4 just absolutely turned it on its head by doing
Yeah,
the
and
whole like
it turned
six months later, and I'm like, oh, excellent, cool, and now you're back to the nitty gritty, and of course with that panel with the Kingpin on the last
yes.
page, and he's like, remember, and then he just
Yeah.
says the 2 words at the end. This book, Chip Zdarsky, has been absolutely. I know I've dissed him for his Spider-Man stuff, but his Daredevil stuff has been bang on, perfect. Love
Mhm.
reading it.
Or it's like a lot of people talking about like this is the longest he's stuck with a run on Daredevil, like since Frank Miller.
Yeah,
And when you can talk about Chip Zdarsky in the same sentence that you talk about Frank Miller on a character that everybody remembers Frank Miller for.
mm,
You know, it's Frank Miller, it's Daredevil and Batman, and now
mm.
is Chip Zdarsky going to be the next Frank Miller?
Yeah. Well, do you remember what I said back when we started looking at Daredevil, and he
Mm,
was in prison? We had Lady Daredevil coming in. I said to you, this generation's version
right,
of Frank Miller on Daredevil. This run on Zdarsky's run on Daredevil will be as fondly remembered by this generation of comic book readers as we remember Frank Miller's run. It is
right.
that game changing. And we might look at it and think, but no, that run with the multiple bullseyes, the threat to Elektra,
Yeah,
um, the whole thing. Yeah, it got a bit cheesy at the end when all the heroes stood up for Matt. Yeah, I get it. It's a little bit cheese on toast. But up to that point, bang on, brilliant. The Daredevil Woman Without Fear book.
yeah. I mean, it's
This
all about trying to find these new ways to use these characters, right?
mm,
Or how do you tell a story using these characters that hasn't been told?
mm,
And that to me, has made Daredevil one of the more interesting books that I've read in the last couple of years, where we all talk about what moves up to the top of your pull list, or what moves up,
mm.
like as soon as it comes out you need to read it, and that's I hardly ever feel that way about, about books anymore. I'm just like, now I'll read this one. Now I'll read this one. But whenever I see Daredevil come in, I'm like, I gotta read Daredevil. I have to figure out what's going on. I have to get the next part of the story. And now, with the news that just broke this week,
Yes.
That I mean, and are you happy with this? We have Chip
Um,
Zdarsky moving over to Batman, but he's staying on Daredevil. Has that ever happened in the history of comics?
well, I just hope that he doesn't write the same stuff, but just change the names. That'd be awful. Remember Bruce Wayne can see,
Yeah,
Matt can't. Bats and all that. Seriously though, it'll be interesting to see what they bring. I definitely think there needs to be some differentiation in the Batman universe because you've got Bruce Wayne running around, you've got the new Batman kicking around as well. For all intents and purposes, the people I speak to on a regular basis, hardly anybody's buying the new Batman with
really.
Jace Fox. They're like, who? So everyone's still invested in Bruce as Bats. Um, I think if Zdarsky can come in and, as you perfectly said, try and give new spins on existing characters, then I'm all for that, definitely. I mean, look, we've seen Ron Mars and Ron Lim do it with Silver Surfer.
Right.
Fair enough. They have to go back to the well to use Galactus and Gamora, but the idea of pairing the two up, Thanos and Surfer, interesting. Because he's at the start of that book, he's absolutely right. Surfer could go toe to toe with Thanos and not a problem, especially without the gauntlet. And Daredevil has kind of been taken down a peg or two. He's lived up to his justice first mentality by being in prison for a while. Elektra, people would say, no way, it's going to be a fake. It's going to be a fake out. Elektra's not going to be Daredevil. She's not going to be this. She's been a pretty damn good Daredevil, in fairness, And I just think if we can get that level of cleverness into Gotham, I think that'd be a good shout, definitely. Instead of going event. Because let's just remember, this Devil's Reign book, it's come out after what, a year or so, if not more, of Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil.
I think Chip's been on Daredevil for a couple of years now.
Yeah, and now the whole prison storyline, Lady Daredevil, the fact that the book's getting renumbered from 1 and it's going to feature both Daredevil and Lady Daredevil, it just shows you that, these aren't, Elektra was never going to be a gender swap diversity hire, as some people would say. She's proven her own ground. She's proven her own worth to the Daredevil storyline. I'm all for it. If you can do that to Batman's world, cool. It's surprised. I would have thought it would have taken someone like Red Hood instead, someone who's a little bit more ambiguous. But we'll see what happens.
I just think that how tough is it to write one book, let alone 2 books now for 2 different masters, so to speak. So you can do Marvel and DC, and then now there's been a whole host of writers that have written both Batman and Daredevil, but nobody has ever done it at the same time, right?
Yep. So it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. Definitely.
I just hope that I hope that that Chip doesn't leave Daredevil like right after the first new arc, which I think probably might happen.
Well, I mean, what you got to think about is there are writers out there that do multiple projects at the same time. Tom King, for example.
Right.
Yeah, he does his stuff for DC and he's done stuff for Marvel. He's done Scott Snyder does stuff for DC and he does stuff for the independents.
Right.
So there are, carrying 2 books isn't as big a deal as it sounds. The fact that it's Daredevil and Batman, yes, I get it.
Yeah.
But for you and I, Daredevil might be one of the books that we pick up first when it hits. Is Daredevil still? Is he still considered a B-list character to everybody else that's not a comic book fan? I tell you what's going to help him though, the fact that Netflix are dropping all the Netflix Marvel shows this month.
Going over to Disney Plus.
Yeah, they're going over to Disney Plus. So if you're on Netflix, there'll be no more Jessica Jones, there'll be no more Daredevil, no more Luke Cage. What? I hear people say thank God for that one. No more Power Man.
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist, I meant, sorry. Yeah.
Are they going to put Punisher on Disney Plus?
I don't know. I don't know.
Some of those, yeah, I don't know.
I
You
think
know,
I don't know if they're going to do a separate like section for them, because I mean Disney Plus now, you don't. It's not just Marvel stuff. You get all sorts of crazy. You can watch Grey's Anatomy on Disney Plus.
oh, well, really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that.
It's under the stars banner.
So, okay, so I mean, so Disney Plus is probably moving over towards say, hey, we'll just put a disclaimer on here, like a
Well,
warning.
well, look at the MODOK cartoon. That's not exactly fit for all audiences, is
Yeah,
it?
but MODOK's on Hulu. MODOK's not on Disney Plus.
You have to get it through Disney Plus, though, right?
Well, Disney owns Hulu, but you have to watch Hulu to get
All right. So
MODOK.
this is a nation thing. If I log out to Disney Plus now, I'll be able to watch MODOK through Disney Plus, through
Oh,
whichever app that's on Disney Plus already.
yeah.
But I
Okay.
have to have a Disney Plus subscription to get to it. So
At least you can watch Disney Plus over there in the United Kingdom.
I don't
No,
watch it. I don't. Yeah, I can, but I don't.
it's not like the DC universe where you can't get the DC
Oh,
universe.
don't even get me started. Don't wind me up, son of a. Why is it called DC Universe when only one bloody country can watch it?
I don't know.
Bang out of order. And people say, oh, well, you know, Americans are DC, Britons are DC. Right, Britons are DC. Tell all the British writers and artists to create your characters and star in your bloody movies. Without Britons, you wouldn't have Christian Bale, would you? No.
You wouldn't
Or
have
Robert bloody Patterson. So less of it.
you wouldn't have the Imperials in Star Wars because they're all British. All right, that's going to end our No Prize podcast for today. And Johnny, thank you for filling in on late notice for me. I
You're
appreciate
welcome. Sorry for the technical issues earlier, but we got it
No,
sorted.
that's okay. You know, nothing's perfect in this world, and
Well, I
you
think
know.
I proved that one correct.
All right. So if you enjoyed Johnny, please watch Johnny on The Old Timers and on Outside the Panels.
Yes.
And
The Definitive Crusade.
yeah, where I'm sure you'll spend a lot more time talking about Batman.
Well, no, not really. We don't do a lot of bats. Bats is a little bit saturated at the minute. But TDC, The Definitive Crusade, is this show, but about DC. There you go.
All right. All right. Well, stay safe for the next fortnight, and we shall see you. Oh, it's going to be almost spring next time that we have an
Spring League, baseball, willows on balls.
Oh,
That's just if you're feeling kinky.
If the strike is over, we may have some baseball.
Is there a strike?
There is a strike going on.
How can you have a strike on a season that's not... Right.
We'll see.
Play the tune.